Stick to the basics, take a deep breath, do what you're good at, and just keep doing that.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the State of Soy. I'm Aaron Putsey, and we're coming to you from an Iowa Soybean Association meeting where, surprise, surprise, markets, trade, the economics of agriculture are front and center. And I'm visiting with Dr. Matt Roberts. He serves as an ag economist. He's a farm business coach from Ohio, and we brought you into Iowa anyway, but for good reason. These topics are front and center to you, and of course trade right now getting a lot of the conversation. Trade isn't always put in a very positive light today, but I think a little bit of a historical perspective would be of value.
80% of the talks I give, whether to farm audiences or non-farm audiences, I start with just a little bit of historical overview of where we are in history. And contrary to what it seems like when you listen to the news, when you open the papers, when you're on the internet, we aren't living in a bad time. I mean, so much of that seems like it's an awful time, but in reality, we're actually living at the apex of human existence. We are the healthiest, wealthiest, happiest we have ever been, just by every data series. The biggest driver to that change, to this health and wealth, is globalization, is the explosion of free trade and capitalism around the world, driven by the United States. It matters to us in the farm community, because in the same way that the rest of the world's gotten wealthier, they've also eaten better. Okay, not just more, but better and better and better. And so all this wealth and prosperity we have in agriculture, particularly over this past 2 to 3 decades, is driven also just as much by the emergence of free trade and capitalism around the world.
In zeroing in on agriculture, and of course you're visiting with soybean farmers, you're a farm business coach. What is your counsel to farmers right now during what appears to be, again, a time of choppiness in the agricultural markets? What is your counsel to farmers?
The great thing about where we are right now in the choppiness in Trump 47 is we can look back to Trump 45 and kind of get some keys. And a couple things that I think are important. First, he was very diligent in making sure that the farm communities were made whole from trade actions. And I think everything leads me to believe that's going to be the case again. So the first is don't panic. The second is it matters even more than ever to be good at the business side of your farming. Marketing, it's not about hitting home runs, particularly when there's a lot of volatility. It's about hitting singles and doubles. Be profitable. Don't worry, the trade stuff's going to take care of itself. Worry about your costs. I am not counseling my farmers to really think a lot about this stuff and market any differently. It is stick to the basics, take a deep breath, do what you're good at, which we know what we're good at, and just keep doing that.
If we look into your crystal ball, what do you see in 6 months out from now?
Looking back at the 45th presidency, right after the announcement about big tariffs on China, escalation of rhetoric around the EU and NAFTA and all of this, we saw right away stock market falls, prices go crazy. 8 months later, the stock market was back to the same level. Prices had generally recovered. Beans were slower, okay, but again, Trump made the growers whole. I think 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, I generally don't expect to see a lot of difference. The one wild card is we're coming into this period with a higher inflation rate. It's day one. We didn't have that 8 years ago. That may change how the markets do react. But in general, I think 8 to 12 months from now, this is going to be worked out and things are going to return to normal.
You know, bottom line, what we're hearing from speakers and from experts like Matt and others on these topics is expect volatility, but ignore the extremes. Stay nimble, stay focused on the things that you can control. For this edition of The State of Soy, I'm Aaron Putsey.
Do you remember when you first believed that anything was possible? Do you remember when you had doubt? Obstacles you couldn't overcome? Do you remember when you pushed through the pain and refused to quit? created you for this.